There are moments in life when a person stands alone, utterly broken, surrounded by silence, no strength left to fight, no clarity left to decide, and no words left to express the storm inside the heart. In those moments, people around you may not understand your pain. They may not see the tears you quietly hide. They may not see the battles you're fighting. But Allah sees, Allah hears, and Allah knows. Sometimes all it takes is one sincere dua, one whisper of the heart, one moment of surrender for Allah to rewrite an entire destiny. You see, dua is not just the sound of your voice. It is your heart reaching out to the one who created it. It is your soul returning to its Lord. It is you admitting that you cannot carry the weight anymore and trusting that He can. And when a tear falls during this dua, when a heart trembles during this dua, when a soul finally breaks in humility during this dua, that's when Allah's mercy rushes in. You may think your situation is impossible. You may think your life is stuck. You may think nothing will ever change. But what if you are one dua away from a life you never imagined? What if Allah is just waiting for the moment you lift your hands? Not because He needs your dua, but because He knows you need it. There are people who spent years drowning in fear, sadness, debt, heartbreak, loneliness, and one dua, made with sincerity, changed everything. Not because the dua was long, not because it was poetic, but because the heart behind it was finally real. Today, I want to remind you of something powerful. Your life can transform at any moment, and sometimes that moment begins with one dua. When a person finally raises their hands to make dua, something incredible happens inside them, something most people never notice, but it is the very beginning of transformation. In that moment, whether the pain is fresh or years old, whether the heart is steady or trembling, whether the eyes are dry or filled with tears, the human being admits something profound. I can't do this alone. This admission is not weakness. It is the birthplace of strength. It is the moment when a person stops trying to carry the world on their shoulders and hands it back to the one who created both the world and the shoulders that carry it. And in that surrender, a new kind of power is born. When life becomes heavy, most people keep trying to push forward using their own strength, mental strength, emotional strength, physical strength. But there comes a point where the strength of a human being reaches its limit. You can hide your exhaustion from everyone, but you cannot hide it from yourself. You cannot hide it from Allah. And when you finally admit that the load is too heavy, that the path is unclear, that the heart is tired, that the soul needs help, that is when dua turns helplessness into strength. Because dua is not simply asking, dua is connecting. It is anchoring your heart to the only power that never fades, never weakens, never disappears. There are people who walked into their dua with nothing but broken pieces, and they walked out with clarity, courage, and renewed faith. Their circumstances hadn't changed yet. What changed first was them. And that is what makes dua so transformative. Before the world shifts around you, dua shifts the world within you. It realigns your heart. It resets your focus. It reminds you that you are not alone, and you never were. Even when people left, even when support faded, even when no one understood what you were going through, Allah remained. And when you remember this, even pain becomes bearable, even fear becomes manageable, even darkness becomes temporary. Dua also softens the heart in a way nothing else can. When a person is overwhelmed, they often become hardened. Not because they want to, but because life forces them to. Dua melts that hardness. It unclogs the emotions you buried inside. It allows you to cry in front of the one who will never judge you for your tears. It allows you to be honest in a way you cannot be with anyone else. And when the heart softens, the mind becomes clear, the soul becomes lighter, and the spirit becomes stronger. This is why the first transformation dua brings is internal. Before Allah changes your situation, He strengthens your heart to face it. Before He opens a door for you, He prepares you to walk through it. Before He gives you the blessing, He shapes you into the person who can handle it. And all of this begins with one moment of humility, one whisper of surrender, one sincere plea that says, Allah, I need you. So when you make dua, don't worry about the eloquence of your words. Worry about the sincerity of your heart. Because the moment you sincerely turn to Allah, you are no longer weak, you are supported by a strength far greater than your own. That is how dua transforms helplessness into strength. When you call upon Allah, something happens that you may not see, but it is more real than anything you can touch. The moment your lips move, the moment your heart whispers even a single word toward the heavens, that dua is heard. Not one dua gets lost. Not one plea goes unnoticed. Not one tear is ignored. Allah does not turn away from a heart that turns toward Him. He does not forget the pain that brought you to your knees. He does not overlook the fears you hide from the world. And understanding this truth is one of the deepest sources of peace a believer can ever experience. Many people look at their lives and think, maybe my dua didn't work, or maybe Allah didn't listen, simply because the answer did not arrive when they expected it. But the delay of a dua is not the denial of a dua. The delay is often where the greatest mercy lies. Sometimes Allah delays your dua to protect you from something you cannot see. Sometimes He delays it because the blessing you are asking for is not ready yet. And sometimes Allah delays it because you are not ready yet. He is shaping you, strengthening you, cleansing you, and preparing you to receive something greater than what you imagined. You see, Allah does not respond to your dua only with the words yes or no. He responds with wisdom. He responds with mercy. He responds with perfect timing. When a child asks for something harmful, a loving parent says no, not out of cruelty, but out of deep care. When a child cries for something too heavy for them to carry, the parent waits until the child grows strong enough. Allah's care for you is infinitely greater than any human care. So when He withholds with love. When He gives with precision. When He delays with purpose. And while you are waiting for that to unfold, Allah sends signs, comforts, and small mercies that you may not even realize are a part of the response. The strength you suddenly feel in a moment of weakness, that is a response. The patience you didn't know you could have, that is a response. The calm that enters your heart after crying to Allah, that is a response. Sometimes Allah changes you before He changes your circumstances, because He knows that a transformed heart will appreciate, protect, and elevate the blessing in a way an unprepared heart never could. Every dua has its appointed moment. Some duas are answered immediately because Allah wants to show you His closeness. Some are answered later because Allah wants to show you His wisdom. Some are answered in the next life because Allah wants to reward you with what this world could never offer. But no dua ever disappears. They travel to Allah, they are recorded by angels, and they return to you in the form that is best. So never think you are unheard, never think you are unseen. Allah is closer than you think, more merciful than you realize, and more aware of your pain than you could ever imagine. Keep calling upon Him, because the one who listens to every heartbeat will never ignore a dua that comes from the heart. There are moments in life when people look at your situation and quietly conclude, it's over for you. They see your losses, your failures, your disappointments, your heartbreak, and they assume that your story has reached its final chapter. But what people forget, what they cannot see, is that Allah can change everything in a single moment. One dua, made with sincerity, can completely rewrite what everyone around you thought was impossible. Humans judge by what is visible. Allah responds to what is hidden in the heart. People may measure your future by your past. They may tell you that your mistakes are too big, your dreams too unrealistic, your problems too deep. They may remind you of how many times you've fallen. They may say you'll never get married, never get out of debt, never find peace, never heal from what broke you. But Allah is not restricted by human opinions. He is not limited by statistics, predictions, or expectations. What others see as impossible is effortless for Him. One sincere dua, whispered in the stillness of night, can move mountains you never even realized were blocking your path. There are countless stories, some written in books, some lived quietly by people around you, of individuals who saw no escape, no future, no hope, until the moment they turned to Allah. A person drowning in debt, unable to breathe under the pressure, made one desperate dua, and within months, unexpected doors opened, opportunities arose, and the burden lifted in ways no human could have planned. A person who thought marriage would never come found themselves blessed with a spouse more suitable, more loving, more calming than they ever believed they deserved. A heart shattered by betrayal or loneliness was healed so beautifully that the person couldn't even recognize the pain they once lived with. All of this began with a dua that seemed small, but was fueled by a heart overflowing with sincerity. Dua has a power that defies logic. It travels beyond what eyes can see. It reaches places no human influence can touch. When you make dua, you are appealing directly to the one who controls destiny. You are reaching out to the one who can change every no into a oh yes, every closed door into an open gate, every setback into a blessing in disguise. And sometimes, while you are crying over what you lost, Allah is preparing to give you something far greater than what you asked for. You must understand, Allah does not need time to fix your life. He can grant in seconds what you thought would take decades. He can heal your heart overnight. He can guide your soul in an instant. He can bless you in a way that leaves you speechless. But often, he waits for one thing, your dua, not because he needs it to act, but because you need it to grow, to trust, to return to him with sincerity. So never accept the label impossible. Never believe that your situation is beyond repair. Never assume that what people say defines your destiny. Allah is the author of your story, and one sincere dua can flip the page, rewrite the chapter, and turn your entire life in a direction you never expected. Keep asking, keep hoping. Keep trusting the one who brings the dead back to life. Your situation is never too far gone for him. A dua becomes truly powerful not when the words are perfect, but when the heart behind them is sincere. You can repeat memorized phrases. You can recite long supplications. You can speak beautifully. But if the heart is distant, the dua loses its depth. And yet, a single sentence spoken with a trembling voice, a single whisper made with honesty, a single tear shed out of humility can shake the heavens. Because Allah does not respond to the tongue alone. He responds to the heart that turns toward Him with sincerity. The transformation of your life begins with the transformation of your heart. When a heart becomes sincere, its relationship with Allah becomes real. It stops playing the role of a believer and starts living it. It stops asking out of habit and starts asking out of need. It stops pretending to be strong and admits its weakness. This honesty is what gives a dua its weight. A dua is not merely the movement of the lips, it is the surrender of the soul. And sincerity is the bridge that carries your supplication from your chest to the throne of the most merciful. A heart that is genuine in its turning toward Allah becomes a magnet for divine mercy. But sincerity requires courage. It requires you to strip away ego, pride, and the image you've built in front of people. It requires you to reveal the parts of yourself that you hide behind smiles and distractions. It means admitting to Allah the fears you never admitted to anyone, the regrets you buried deep, the wounds you pretend don't exist. When you make dua from this place, from the raw, vulnerable truth within you, something changes. The heart softens, the soul becomes lighter. The burden begins to feel less suffocating, and you feel a closeness to Allah that no worldly comfort can ever match. A sincere heart does not only change the dua, it changes the person making it. It realigns your priorities. You begin to value what draws you closer to Allah and distance yourself from what distances you from Him. You start to pray with meaning, not obligation. You read Quran with reflection, not routine. You seek forgiveness with humility, not formality. This internal shift becomes the soil from which powerful duas grow. When the heart is willing to change, Allah opens doors of change that you never imagined. And it is interesting how Allah often changes your heart before He changes your circumstances. Because a transformed heart can carry blessings with gratitude instead of arrogance, and can endure trials with patience instead of despair. If He gives you before your heart is ready, the blessing might feel like a burden. But when your heart has returned to Him, even the smallest blessing feels like a miracle. So the dua that changes your life actually begins with a heart that is willing to change itself. This is why the most life-altering duas come from moments of deep sincerity, from standing in sujood longer than usual, from crying silently in the middle of the night, from whispers made in complete honesty. When your heart finally lets go of everything except Allah, you will witness how He opens doors you didn't even know existed. And that inner transformation, that purification of the heart, is what makes a dua powerful enough to transform your entire life. In the end, everything you are searching for, every answer, every blessing, every moment of peace, every solution that feels out of reach, begins with turning your heart sincerely toward Allah. One dua can change your life, not because the words themselves are extraordinary, but because the one you are speaking to is all-powerful, all-knowing, and infinitely merciful. Your lowest moment can become the doorway to your greatest transformation. Your deepest pain can become the reason you finally rise. And your most desperate dua can become the moment Allah writes a new chapter for you, one filled with healing, guidance, and blessings you never imagined. So don't give up. Don't think your story is stuck. Don't think you've prayed too much or too little. So your dua is heard. Your tears are counted. Your patience is seen. And your trust is never wasted. Take a breath, lift your hands, and speak to the one who has never left you, not for a single heartbeat. You may be just one sincere dua away from a life completely transformed. If this message touched your heart, share it, spread the reminder, and don't forget to subscribe so the message reaches more souls who need it.